Hi everyone, I'm Mary Keenan. I am in Cohort B and I am a second-year graduate student. And my externship this semester is at Kids Therapy in Garden City. I'm working with children who are in early intervention and preschool age, and this specific presentation is going to be focused on a child who is 4 years old in preschool. This specific child has an articulation disorder and a language delay, but the session plan could be used among children with a variety of delays, disorders, and age groups. In the long term, ideally, this child will improve overall intelligibility, and the client will also improve expressive and receptive language skills. In the short term, the goal is for the child to be able to answer 5 WH questions and for the child to be able to produce the phoneme F in the final position with 60% accuracy, giving moderate verbal and visual cues. I started this session similar to how I start all of my sessions, by reading a story. This story is usually on theme. I like to have my sessions based around one general idea. So the theme of the day for this session was candy. It was the day after Halloween, so I knew that a lot of my clients would be very interested in talking about all of the candy that they got. So I found a short story called Sweet Dreams, Evan and Finn's Trip to Candy City. This targeted joint attention, introduction to the theme of the day, and the bombardment of what questions. I would frequently pause the story and ask them questions about what was happening in the book to make sure that they were focusing and comprehending what was going on. This is the cover of the book that I chose to read for the day. Something that I found really useful is that YouTube has read-alouds to pretty much any children's book that you'd ever want. So even though I didn't have this book physically, I was able to just pull up a video of someone else reading it, and that's how we did it. And it was a really great story. My children all loved it, and they all said that they would want to go to Candy City, which led into my next activity. The next activity was playing Candyland. It's amazing how simple it is to turn a board game into a therapy approach. And you do that by having the child earn their turn. This specific child had an articulation goal, so they would earn their turn by producing the phoneme. We began at the individual level in isolation, and we went back and forth in a conversation-like manner, producing the sound. After a few trials of that, then we moved into the phoneme at the word level. We did it in the final position because he mastered it already in the onset. The clinician would model it for him one time, and then he would produce it 5 more times. He was presented with a visual board, and he was allowed to pick which word he got to do. After multiple trials of that, the clinician would present a 2-word phrase that the client should repeat in order to see how he could do with a little bit more intensity. This is an example of a visual board that might be given to one of my clients. This specific client is very highly motivated by check marks, so I always have to bring 2, one for me and one for him, so we can check it off as we go that he did it correctly. For those of you who have not played Candyland before, this is a little visual of what it looks like. There are different color pieces, and they have to make their way around a windy track, and they pick a card that will either have 1 or 2 squares, and you go to the color that coordinates with the card you choose. There were so many advantages to this game, but the main ones were that it was an introduction to taking turns, color identification and labeling, and implementing repetitive drills in a structured format. The disadvantage to this game is some children are not acclimated to playing board games yet, so it took a little bit for them to understand turn taking, following the rules, and where the pieces should go. And some need to learn how to lose a little more graciously, and others really need the confidence, so the clinician will need to manipulate the game so they definitely win. Additional goals that you can use this game to target are expanding utterances, following one-step directions, identifying and labeling vocabulary, and answering what questions. Thanks for listening. I hope this helped.